Hello and welcome back to Matt Hayes' Tottenham blog and to today's players rating video for Tuesday's exceptional victory against Red Star Belgrade in the Champions League. I'm going to be going through all the players who started and the subs who came on, and giving my opinion on their performance. Most of them are good, unsurprisingly. So before I get into that, if you do want more content like this, plus interactive live streams, match previews, reviews and breaking news videos, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and click that notification bell to get notified whenever I upload. So starting at the back with Paulo Gazzaniga, I'm going to give him a 7 for the game on Tuesday. I thought he didn't have much to do throughout the duration of the game. You know, it was a reasonably one-sided game, as the scoreline would suggest. But Red Star, they did have their chances. There was a few, mainly that kind of spell before our third goal, when they were causing us a few problems at the back, and Gazzaniga made some saves. You know, nothing too kind of no amazing saves or anything like that. They weren't the most difficult shots to keep out, but he was needed to make the saves, and he did. In terms of his distribution and stuff like that, it was nothing special, but he didn't make any mistakes either. It was just a kind of straightforward game for him in that regard. So yeah, I'm going to give him a 7. Moving into the defence, Serge Aurier, I'm going to give him a 7 as well. I have been a critic of Serge Aurier quite a bit in the past, this season as well. He, for me, isn't the player that I think we should be happy to have in that position. I think right back is an area that we do need to improve, and he is one of the reasons why. Last night, or on Tuesday night, I thought it was a decent performance from him. He did offer quite a bit going forward, which is what we want from our fullbacks. He, of course, got that assist for Eric Lamella's goal, but defensively, he's just not good enough. There's no other way to put it, and there's been nothing from him to suggest that maybe that will improve, because, you know, he's a player who has been at the top level for quite a while now, playing with PSG before he moved to Tottenham, and just he's too vulnerable defensively. He's too rash. He gives away stupid fouls. He makes stupid decisions. I don't think he's the player that we need in that position because of those reasons. But last night, overall, because he was doing a lot more in the offensive side of things rather than defensive, I'm going to give him a 7. Moving into centre-back, Davinson Sanchez, I thought was probably the best of our defenders last night. He didn't have, like the majority of them, he didn't have too much to do defensively, but I thought he was really good stepping out of defence, both in and out of possession. You know, he was carrying the ball forward, he's making some really good passes, but also a lot of the time when Red Star were trying to get forward, they were trying to pass it through the middle into their striker, but Sanchez was really good about stepping out of defence and cutting those passing lanes and straight away getting us back on the attack and keeping Red Star pinned back. They just couldn't get out, and I think he was a big part of that. As I said, some really good passing, and for all of these defenders, I suppose, we finally got another clean sheet. You know, it was only our third of the season, the other two coming against Palace and Colchester. Of course, that Colchester game we ended up getting knocked out on penalties, but it was a good defensive performance, and the game management was really good last night. Moving on to Jan Vertonghen, you know, Glenn Hoddle made the point in commentary at one stage where he said, looking at the players on that pitch, Jan Vertonghen is probably the only one who you could identify as a player who looks like he is seeking a move away from the club, and he wasn't at his best last night. He hasn't been at his best this season at all. And I think that spell that Red Star did have towards the end of the first half, a lot of their play was coming down Vertonghen's side, you know, in between him and Ben Davies. They were getting in between the two of them, making these late runs and stuff like that. That was causing us problems, and I think Vertonghen, you know, maybe he's not at his best when Toby Alderweireld isn't there, but when Toby Alderweireld has been there this season, he still hasn't been good enough. So as I said, I'm going to give him a 6 for that one. Ben Davies, I'm going to give him a 6.5 because I think he was really similar to Vertonghen. Obviously, he's as much to blame for those problems down the left-hand side as Vertonghen is, but Davies did offer a bit more going forward, as you'd expect from a fullback. So I'm going to give him just a little bit higher than Vertonghen, but I don't think he deserves much more. So I'm going to give him, as I said, a 6.5. Moving into the midfield, we start with Tanguy Ndombele. Last night he showed why we signed him and why we broke our club record transfer fee to sign him, because he was absolutely exceptional. Playing in the middle of the park, he showed glimpses of what we saw from Moussa Dembele when he was at his best. Obviously not to the same degree, not to the same level, but he showed a really similar style of play, which is what we've been waiting to see from him. He was really good. He was breaking up the Red Star counter-attacks. He was picking out really good passes. He was just kind of pulling the strings from the middle of the park. And it's usually Harry Winks who does do that job, but I think Tanguy Ndombele was a step above what we've ever seen from Harry Winks before. And, you know, I am a massive fan of Winks, and I do think he's one of our best players. Or he has been one of our best players this season, but I thought Ndombele was on a whole new level last night. Again, with all of these, we do have to acknowledge that it was a weaker opposition, but at the end of the day, it is Champions League football, and Ndombele did really, really impress me. Sissoko, I'm going to give him a 7.5. I thought he had a really solid performance. He, similarly to Ndombele, did break up a lot of the counter-attacks and was pulling some of the strings going forward as well. But I think Sissoko just, no blame on him, but I think he was just overshadowed a bit by how incredible Tanguy Ndombele was. But it was a good performance from Sissoko. He did really well, and he deserves the praise as well. Moving on to Eric Lamela, it really baffles me how there are still some people who don't see the quality that he has. He last night he was probably one of his better performances in a Tottenham jersey. I do think that does need to be acknowledged, but he was absolutely exceptional right from the first minute. It was that tenacious play from him out of possession, but even in possession, he was absolutely exquisite at times. That assist for Heung-min Son was an inch perfect, wonderfully timed ball into the back post. And Son still had a lot to do, in fairness to him, but it was a really good delivery from Lamela. And of course, Lamela scored as well, a really good turn and finish in the box. And I'm going to give him an 8 because I really do think he showed what I imagine he does show in training in order to keep getting into the team. But it was a really good performance from him. And what really surprised me was that that goal he scored was only his second ever Champions League goal. His other one coming against Barcelona at Wembley last year. But a really good performance from Eric Lamela. Dele Alli, I'm going to give him a 7. It wasn't, I wouldn't say it was a really good performance from him, but it is better than what we've seen from him in the last 18 or so months. And we heard these rumours over the international break that he has kind of cut all commercial activities in order to focus on his football. And we saw a bit of an improvement against Watford last Saturday, obviously getting the goal that rescued a point for us. But I thought he made another step up on Tuesday night. His passing was decent. There was some good link-up play. The only thing I can criticise him on last night is he cannot beat a man. He tries to dribble past players. He tries to knock the ball past them and beat them for pace. He's just not at a level of fitness right now where he can do that. Because with these recurring hamstring injuries, it's always going to play in his mind, and he's not at 100% at the moment. That's the only way I can really criticise him. But I think this major improvement over the last week or so definitely deserves some recognition, and that I think has maybe boosted his rating up with me a bit. But I do think 7 is fair for what we saw from him last night. And then got on to definitely the two best players in the night. First of all, Heung-min Son. On Monday night he was nominated on the shortlist for the Ballon d'Or, and we certainly saw a response to that on Tuesday with a performance worthy of a nomination, worthy of a top 10, top 5, top 3, whatever you want to say. He was absolutely exceptional. He had 2 really, really good finishes. The first one definitely a whole lot more impressive than the second. But I think what's more impressive about that second goal is the determination and the pace that he showed to get into that position on the transition when Ndombele won the ball back. It was really, really good from him. But his all-round play was so good. He was really direct. He was taking men on. He was picking out really good passes. The only thing you can kind of not even criticise but maybe acknowledge as a weakness in his game last night was once he got that second goal coming out in the second half, he was really greedy, and anytime he got the ball he was trying to get into a position to shoot himself. There's a few moments where even Harry Kane was getting a bit frustrated with him, but the fact that he did come off halfway through the second half, you'd imagine he would have known that at half time, so maybe he was just trying a bit harder to grab that hat-trick, which I suppose you can excuse to some degree, but you would have rathered him. He played for the team, and I'm not at all saying he's not a team player. He's the best team player on that team that there is, to be honest, but he was a bit greedy, which you can't excuse. And there was a wonderful moment when he was subbed off. Obviously the new rules, you have to go off at the nearest point of the pitch, but walking around the stadium, getting the reception that he deserved and giving back to the fans as well, applauding them, shaking their hands and stuff like that. It was a really good moment from Son. And then onto my man of the match anyway, Harry Kane. I can't give him anything less than a 10 out of 10. He was absolutely world class. And all these people trying to say that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is better than Harry Kane, I think you just need to watch what happened last night, because Kane, he's not just a striker, he's not just a goal scorer, he is one of the best passers of the ball I've ever seen from a striker. He missed out in that Ballon d'Or nomination on Monday, and if Son's was a good response to getting a nomination, Harry Kane's was an even better response to not getting it, because his 2 goals first and foremost were really good. A good header at the front post, and that second goal, such a clever finish. And it's only the top strikers that can pull things off like that as often as he does. But his passing, we've been saying this about him for a few years, and it hasn't been there as much recently because the whole team has been kind of below what they usually are. But his passing was absolutely ridiculous at times. So he's picking out these 40, 50, 60 yard passes But it's not even just those. He'd one unbelievable delivery on his left foot for Lamela in that second half, when he whipped it with his left foot, perfect. There was pace, there was power, there was accuracy, and Lamela maybe should have scored, but it was an unbelievable ball from Harry Kane. And I think the fact that the rest of the team was playing well obviously does make it a lot easier for him, because he didn't have to drop deep as much as he usually does, because the things that he would drop deep to do, the players that were already there were doing it. So I think he did benefit from obviously the rest of the team playing well as well. But Harry Kane last night, one of the best in the world. There's no doubt about it, and he certainly showed that. Then going on to the subs that came onto the pitch, Eric Dyer, the first one, I thought he was really good when he came on. I was a bit surprised to see that he was the first sub. You would have rathered Juan Foyt or Giovanni Lo Celso coming back from injuries to be the first ones on. Of course, they were the second and third one. But Dyer, I heard the commentator say something which you've never really heard. He said, I think it was another great pass from Dyer, very progressive passing from him. You don't hear that very often with Eric Dyer's name, but he was really good when he came on, and as that sentence would suggest, he was picking out some really clever passes, and even though we were 4-5-0 up, he was still trying to get moves going. They were trying to get more goals, and he played a good part in that. As for Foyt and Lo Celso, I don't think there's too much from their performances to really judge where they're at. I think it was just great to see them back in the team after the long-term injuries they've had. And it's rather than the performances that they showed, it's the fact that they just got minutes under their belt is the most important thing that you can take from their inclusion. And now all we're waiting for is Ryan Sessegnon to come back, and we're at full strength, hopefully moving into this Christmas period, pick up points in this part of the season that we usually do. And thankfully we're starting to get back to full strength now in terms of personnel, and hopefully we can have a good Christmas period. If you haven't seen my match review video, that's been live since yesterday, so make sure to go and check that out. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to leave in the comments your opinions on all these players and their performances on Tuesday night. And as always, thanks for watching.